Good afternoon, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. John Kelly, Profiler here, and welcome. And a special welcome today to all our fans and friends across the pond, particularly in Northwest England. We've got a serial killer, it looks like, possibly on the loose there. I don't see law enforcement saying it's definite, but they're leaning that way, and the newspapers are reporting on it. Especially the Sun newspaper. We'll put a link up. They got a really, really great piece on it. It's very comprehensive. They do an in-depth dive into the murders since approximately 1996, probably earlier, if there is a serial on the loose. Something I just want to tell you about one of the worst mass murderers in the world, which is drug addiction and overdoses. And we have a we have a channel up on YouTube called John Kelly's Thrive. And if you'd like to go to John Kelly's Thrive and take a look at it, there's some educational videos on there for anybody that's viewing that has any kind of addictive illness going on in their family. Can be very disruptive, very deadly, especially in these times with COVID and everything else. So we just want you to know it's available. Of course, it's all free, and you can pick and choose if you'd like to look at any of the vids that are on there. Also, our sincere condolences, and sympathies going out to the family and friends of the victims of these elderly couples that supposedly were murdered in their golden years over in Northwest England. So let's get on with it and see what we have here. So I talked about the Sun newspaper and the great piece they have. We'll put a link up. And it looks like we're looking at 5 murder-suicides since 1996, where, somebody murders one of their loved ones and then commits suicide. So we, for instance, have a husband murdering a wife and then committing suicide in some way. Is there a serial killer? Well, the only way we're going to know that is if we find out the motive. We know the how right now in most of these cases. They're talking about, usually the female being murdered with a blunt object or being stabbed. And then we have the male in the relationship committing suicide in some way. Now, that's the how. So we know what the how is on the murder. But the question I have is why? See, if a serial killer is involved here, there has to be a motive, right? So why is this guy killing these elderly people? What's he getting out of it? What's he getting out of it? And that's the question that has to be answered for us to really know if we've got a serial here or not. Motive will tell us everything about this. Once you have the how, you get the why, which is the motive, then you can focus in on the who. And, different serial killers kill for different reasons. And the one thing we're looking at here is, was there any theft? If there's any theft, if there was any robbery that had taken place, then we're going to be looking at a subtype of the serial killers, which we call a comfort killer. Comfort killer kills for creature comforts, usually money, drugs, things of that nature. So usually they'll ransack the place looking for jewelry, anything at all, any valuables at all that they can turn into cash. So that would be a comfort type serial killer that if we have a serial killer at all involved here, that could be responsible for killing these couples. Also, if we're looking for a serial killer that's interested in some kind of sexual gratification, who's getting off from killing elderly people for sexual reasons, then, we're probably looking at a lust or a power control type serial killer. And law enforcement knows this. They just haven't really come out with it yet. Okay? Because once we know the motive, again, we're going to have a better shot of catching the killer. Then the last but not least serial killer that I would be thinking of at this time without a whole lot of information would be a visionary serial killer. This is a serial killer that has psychotic breaks. and usually believes they're getting commands from God or the devil to kill somebody or to kill a number of people. It's, they're commanded and then they're compelled to follow the commands to exterminate the victims. And, this is also a possibility too if we can't find any evidence of theft or any evidence of any sexual acting out and sexual abuse to the victims. One thing we know for sure, if there is a serial killer here, he's expressing a lot of rage in the brutality of the way he's killing the women. And that's in the piece as well from The Sun, because he's really going at the female victims a lot harder than he is the males. And it's going to be interesting to see if we have a guy that's been operating over in that area for quite a while, could still be on the loose. We have nothing to say he's not. We have no proof he's not. We have no proof if he's alive or dead. We have no proof if he was in prison during different times, because these killings took place over, a number of years. In fact, the first one that I'm seeing is 1996. And usually with serial killers, they've started killing before you even figure out who their first victims are. You probably never know who their first victims are until they tell you. Also, something else is that, this is not our first rodeo with, serial killers of the elderly. We were involved with the elderly murders in Mississippi back in 2000. And nobody was ever caught. Nobody was ever prosecuted for those murders. And I think there were 5 elderly people that were murdered by I believe a serial killer in Columbus, Mississippi. And that's back in 99 and 2000. And then it seems like he just disappeared. Something else that I'm very curious about. Anybody that may have been working around the elderly or some of these elderly victims in some capacity going back, all those years to 96, whether it be some kind of caretaker, maintenance person, something like that, somebody that has access or is around elderly people. Because I don't believe for a minute that these elderly people were spotted on the street and then stalked back to their apartment. And then, this person was able to pull a ruse and get into their apartment and methodically murder them and leave no trace. So I have to believe this is somebody they felt comfortable about. I think the newspaper even brought that out. But it's usually somebody that has access to these people and has gained their confidence in some way, because I don't think there was any forced entry at all in any of these cases, as far as we know to this point. But anyway, we're going to keep our eye on this. We're going to see if there is a serial, if there's not a serial. We're going to see what law enforcement over in England comes up with. And we'll keep you posted. We'll keep you informed on our thoughts and give you our 2 cents on it. At this point in time, I just want to say many, many thanks for tuning in today. We can't thank you enough for your subscriptions. Please subscribe. Most importantly, give us feedback. We love your feedback. We love your comments. And, we're always interested in what you have to say. Thank you so much. Stay safe out there. Make it a great day. And thanks again.